I never imagined the worst moment of my life would start with a laugh. Her laugh. I was standing in the doorway of my own bedroom, frozen, watching my wife, sitting on top of my brother, completely bare, her head thrown back in laughter. Not shock, not guilt, laughter. Jake, the golden boy of the family, the one who could do no wrong, looked up at me, grinning like this was some inside joke I wasn't in on. Well, bro, guess the cat's out of the bag. Something inside me snapped. I lunged. Fist met jaw, the sickening crack of bone splitting the air. Jake groaned, stumbling back, knocking over the lamp. Olivia shrieked, scrambling to cover herself, but her eyes, those cold, heartless eyes, weren't filled with regret. They were annoyed. Jesus, Ethan. Overreacting much? She spat, gripping the bedsheets like I was the one ruining her night. Overreacting? I grabbed Jake by the throat, slamming him against the wall. His breath hitched, eyes wide. My hands trembled with rage, but I wanted to squeeze, to crush, to erase this moment from existence. Ethan, stop. Olivia's voice was sharp, impatient. You're being dramatic. I turned to her, chest heaving. Dramatic. My voice was barely human. You've been screwing my brother in my house, in my bed, and I'm the problem? She rolled her eyes. Relax, she said, brushing her hair off her shoulder. It's not like we meant to hurt you. Not like they meant to hurt me. The words echoed in my skull, but before I could process them, Jake chuckled. The bastard chuckled. Hey man, he coughed, rubbing his jaw. Not that deep. A red haze clouded my vision. My fists tightened. Not that deep. I was going to kill him. And then bang. The front door slammed open. Someone else was here. And everything was about to get a hell of a lot worse. The sound of the front door slamming open sent a chill through me. For a second, the room went dead silent. Even Olivia, who had been smirking like this with some twisted joke, suddenly looked nervous. Jake wiped blood from his mouth and shot me a wary glance. He wasn't smirking anymore. Footsteps. Heavy, hurried. Someone was coming up the stairs. I let go of Jake's throat and turned toward the bedroom door. My heart was still hammering from what I had just walked in on, my fists aching from hitting him. I was ready to throw another punch if needed. And then my father's voice boomed through the house. Jake, where the hell are you? I froze. Dad? What the hell was he doing here? Jake's face turned pale. Olivia muttered a curse under her breath. A second later, my father, James Carter, the man who had spent my entire life making me feel like I wasn't good enough, appeared in the doorway. His eyes swept over the scene. The broken lamp. The blood on Jake's face. Olivia barely covered by the bedsheets. He put it all together in less than a second. And then his eyes landed on me. The hell is going on here? I opened my mouth, but before I could say a word, Olivia did what she did best. She lied. Ethan just attacked Jake out of nowhere, she cried, putting on the most pathetic, trembling voice I'd ever heard. He's been acting crazy lately, James. I think he needs help. My blood ran ice cold. This scoundrel, Jake, the slimy coward he was, immediately played along. Yeah, Dad, he just lost it. He stormed in here screaming and started throwing punches. I don't know what's wrong with him. He wiped his bloody lip for effect. I stared at them, stunned. They weren't just cheating. They were trying to make me the bad guy. And worst of all, my father was already believing them. He turned to me, his jaw clenched. Ethan, you better have a damn good explanation for this. My hands balled into fists. My entire body was shaking with rage. This wasn't happening. I had walked in on my wife screwing my brother, and somehow I was the villain in the story they were telling. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. I came home early. I caught Olivia and Jake together. In my bed, I looked my father dead in the eye. That's what's going on. Silence. Then my father exhaled sharply, shaking his head. Ethan, I don't have time for your jealousy issues. Jealousy issues. I almost laughed. Dad, He held up a hand, cutting me off. You've always had it out for Jake. You've been bitter since we put him through college and not you. I told you if you worked harder, you'd get your share. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Worked harder? I had busted my ass my whole life, while Jake had everything handed to him. But it didn't matter. It never mattered. And now? Now I had proof that my golden boy brother was a snake, and my father still didn't care. Olivia sniffled dramatically, wiping her eyes as if she was the victim. James, I don't know what to do. Ethan's been so angry lately. It's scaring me. I snapped. Scaring you? My voice was ice. You're screwing my brother in my house? Lying to my face? And you're scared? Jake smirked. Dude, relax. It's not like you two were even happy. That was it. I lunged at him again. This time I wasn't stopping at one punch. But before I could get to him, my father grabbed my arm. Enough, he roared. I yanked away from his grip. No, you know what, Dad? I'm done. I'm done playing the bad guy in a story where your precious son is the real villain. I turned to Olivia, my voice shaking with rage. And you? You're a pathetic, lying. Ethan. My father's voice was sharp. Leave. I blinked. What? He crossed his arms. Get out of this house before you embarrass yourself even more. Before I embarrass myself? I let out a hollow laugh. You're kicking me out of my own damn house? Olivia, still clinging to the sheets, had the audacity to smile. Actually, she said sweetly, the house is in my name, so yeah, get out. My vision blurred with pure fury. I turned to Jake, who looked way too pleased with himself. Then to my father, who wasn't even trying to hide his disappointment in me. I had two choices. I could fight. I could refuse to leave, throw another punch, make them drag me out. Or I could do what they least expected. I smiled. All right, I said, stepping back. I'll go. Olivia blinked. Wait, what? Jake frowned. Just like that. I nodded. Just like that. Then I turned and walked out of the room. But as I headed down the stairs, my mind was already spinning. They thought they had won. They thought this was over. They had no idea what was coming next. I was about to ruin them all. I stepped out into the cold night air, my hands still trembling with rage. My breath came out in short bursts, my mind replaying the last few minutes like a twisted movie I couldn't turn off. Jake, Olivia, my own father. They had kicked me out like I was the problem, like I was the villain in this story. They thought they had won, but they had underestimated me. I wasn't just going to move on. I was going to make them regret ever betraying me. Step 1. Destroy the illusion. I needed a plan, and I needed it fast. I pulled out my phone, my fingers hovering over my contacts. There was one person who could help me, Ryan. Ryan had been my best friend since college. Unlike Jake, he had actually worked for his success. Now, he was an attorney, a damn good one. And if there was anyone who could help me take everything from Olivia, it was him. I hit dial. Ethan? His voice came through after a couple of rings. It's late, man. What's up? I exhaled slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. I need your help. Ryan picked up on my tone immediately. What happened? I clenched my jaw. Olivia cheated on me. With Jake. Silence. Then a low, dangerous chuckle. Tell me you at least broke his nose. Almost. I smirked for the first time that night. But here's the real problem. She just kicked me out of the house. Ryan was quiet for a second. Then he said, come over. Now. Step 2. Taking back what's mine. By the time I got to Ryan's apartment, my rage had simmered down just enough to think clearly. I sat on his couch, running my hands through my hair as I told him everything. Every sickening detail. When I finished, he let out a long whistle. Damn, that's some soap opera level betrayal right there. No kidding. I leaned forward, my elbows on my knees. So tell me, Ryan, how do I burn them to the ground? A slow grin spread across his face. First, let's get you back in that house. I frowned. It's in her name. Yeah, but you've been paying the mortgage, right? I nodded. Every damn month. Ryan's eyes gleamed. Then she can't just kick you out. Legally, you have rights. We can file a claim that you contributed to the household expenses, which means she can't force you to leave. I sat back, letting that sink in. So I can walk back in there tomorrow and she can't do a damn thing about it? Exactly. I laughed. The first genuine laugh I'd had in hours. Oh, this is going to be fun. Ryan leaned back, studying me. So what's the real plan, Ethan? You just want to get back in? Or are we talking full-scale destruction? I didn't hesitate. Destruction. Step 3, ruining their perfect little lives. Ryan nodded approvingly. Then we need to hit them where it hurts. Jake? He's always been Daddy's favorite, right? I gritted my teeth. Yeah. Dad always gave him everything. Paid for his college, helped him get a job, covered for all the stupid crap he pulled. Meanwhile, I had to fight for every scrap. Ryan smirked. Then let's see how Daddy feels when he finds out Jake's been stealing from him. I frowned. What? Ryan reached for his laptop. I've been following Jake's finances for a while. Guy's an idiot. He's been skimming money from your dad's business. Small amounts, just enough to go unnoticed. But if we expose it... I grinned. Then the golden child falls. Ryan nodded. And Olivia? I exhaled sharply. She loves 2 things, money and attention. If I take both away, she'll crumble. Ryan's eyes gleamed. Then let's make sure she gets exactly what she deserves. Step 4, the first strike. The next morning, I walked up to my house like I owned the place. Because technically, I did. I shoved the door open without knocking. Olivia was in the kitchen, sipping coffee like she didn't have a care in the world. The second she saw me, her face twisted in disgust. What the hell are you doing here? I smirked, stepping inside. Good morning to you too, sweetheart. She crossed her arms. I told you to leave. And I told you this house isn't just yours. Legally, I have every right to be here. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. And I'm not going anywhere. She swallowed, her confidence wavering for the first time. Jake's upstairs. Great, I said. I hope he's ready. For what? I smiled. For war. Olivia stared at me like I had just slapped her across the face. She wasn't expecting this. She thought she'd kicked me out for good, that I'd slink away, broken and defeated. She had no idea what was coming. Footsteps thundered down the stairs. Jake. He stormed into the kitchen, his hair a mess, wearing my robe, like he was the king of the house now. My blood boiled, but I kept my expression calm. He smirked. Didn't take you long to come crawling back. I let out a slow breath. Stay cool, Ethan. Stick to the plan. Actually, I said, leaning against the counter, I'm not crawling back. I never left. Jake scoffed. The hell are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, tapping the screen. I had a little chat with my lawyer last night. I turned the phone around, showing him an email from Ryan. Turns out, since I've been paying for this house, Olivia can't legally kick me out. I smirked. So, guess what? I live here. Olivia's face turned red. You're lying. Jake scowled. Even if that's true, why the hell would you want to stay? Because, I said smoothly, I like watching people suffer. His smirk faltered. Good. The setup. I spent the rest of the day making myself comfortable. I unpacked my things, took a long shower in my own damn bathroom, and made sure to be as annoying as possible. Left the TV on full blast. Used up all the hot water. Took the last cup of coffee before Olivia could pour hers. Jake was fuming. Olivia was on edge. Exactly how I wanted them. By nightfall, the tension in the house was unbearable. Olivia finally snapped. You're pathetic, Ethan, she spat, standing in the doorway of my room. You think this little stunt is going to make me regret what I did? I grinned. Oh, sweetheart, I'm just getting started. She rolled her eyes. Jake and I are happy. You're just making yourself miserable. I leaned forward, dropping my voice. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you seem pretty pissed off. Her jaw clenched. You're a loser, Ethan. Always have been. I smiled wider. We'll see. Jake's downfall begins. The next morning, I woke up to screaming. I stretched, taking my time before heading downstairs. Jake was in the living room, his face twisted in panic. Olivia stood nearby, her arms crossed, looking furious. "What's wrong?" I asked innocently. Jake turned to me, his eyes wild. "You did this." I raised an eyebrow. "Did what?" He shoved his phone in my face. I took one look at the screen and had to fight the urge to laugh. An email. From our father. "Jake, I need to see you in my office. Now, we need to talk about the missing money." Oh, this was beautiful. Jake's hands were shaking. How the hell did he find out? I shrugged. "Maybe because you're a thief?" His face turned red. "Screw you, Ethan." I tilted my head. "I'd say right back at you. But it looks like Olivia already did that." His fist clenched, but I didn't flinch. He knew. He knew if he swung first, I'd have every reason to destroy him. So I just smiled, like I'd already won. And in a way, I had. The confrontation. Jake stormed out of the house to meet our father. Olivia turned to me, her eyes narrowing. "You think this is funny?" I leaned against the wall. "Oh, I think it's hilarious." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You don't get it, do you? Even if Jake's in trouble, I still have everything. You have nothing." I chuckled. "You really think that?" Her smirk wavered. I stepped closer, dropping my voice. "What do you think happens when Jake loses everything? When Dad cuts him off? Do you really think he'll stick around? Do you really think he'll provide for you?" She blinked, her lips parting slightly. "Doubt. Good." I leaned in even more. "And when that happens, Olivia? When he's broke, desperate, and no longer your ticket to luxury?" I smirked. "Let's see how loyal you really are." She swallowed hard. She knew. She knew I was right. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about making them destroy each other. And I had just lit the match. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee, completely at ease while Olivia paced back and forth like a caged animal. She kept glancing at the door, waiting for Jake to come back. I knew exactly what was happening at my father's office. Jake was getting torn apart. I imagined our father's rage as he threw the evidence in Jake's face. The disappointment. The betrayal. For once, it wasn't me on the receiving end of it. And that was satisfying as hell. Jake comes home in pieces. The front door slammed open. Jake stormed in, looking like he'd just been punched in the gut. His face was pale, his hands shaking as he yanked off his tie and threw it onto the couch. Olivia rushed to him. "What happened?" Jake didn't even look at her. He was breathing hard, like he was on the verge of completely losing it. "Our father," he growled. "Cut me off." I smirked. "Bingo." Olivia's eyes widened. "What?" Jake turned to me so fast I thought he might actually swing this time. "You." His voice was pure venom. "You set me up." I leaned back in my chair, tilting my head. "Set you up?" "Nah. I just let the truth come out." He lunged at me. Big mistake. I stood up just in time, grabbing his wrist midair and twisting it behind his back. He let out a strangled yell, trying to struggle, but I leaned in close to his ear. "You've always been Dad's perfect son," I whispered. "And now, you're nothing." I shoved him away. He stumbled, rage flashing in his eyes. But he didn't attack again, because now he had nothing to fight for. Olivia starts to crack. Olivia ran a hand through her hair, her breathing uneven. Okay, this is fine. We'll figure something out." Jake let out a bitter laugh. "Figure what out, Olivia? I'm broke. Dad fired me. Took my car. Froze my accounts." Olivia's face twisted. "You mean we're broke?" Jake hesitated. I mean for now, yeah, but..." Her expression turned ice cold. The switch flipped. Olivia had no loyalty, no real love for anyone but herself. And now that Jake was officially worthless, I could see it in her eyes. She was already thinking about her next move. I leaned against the counter, watching the cracks form. Olivia crossed her arms. "What the hell are we supposed to do now, Jake?" "I don't know," he snapped. "Maybe if you hadn't been so quick to kick Ethan out." "Oh, so this is my fault now?" She shot back. I bit my lip to keep from laughing. Too easy. A new enemy appears. Before things could spiral further, Olivia's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and immediately turned pale. I caught a glimpse of the name. Her boss. Jake noticed too. "What is it?" Olivia hesitated. Then slowly she answered. "Hello." Her voice was forced, sweet. But as she listened, her face twisted in horror. "What? No, that's not. I would never." Her hands started shaking. "Fired? What do you mean, fired? You can't just." Silence. Then she slowly lowered the phone, her knuckles white. Jake frowned. "Olivia." She looked up, eyes wide with panic. "My boss." He said someone sent him emails, screenshots, messages, personal ones. Jake's face darkened. "What kind of messages?" I already knew. Olivia swallowed hard. "The ones between me and the CEO. Jake's eyes widened. "Wait, you were screwing your boss?" Silence. Then, smack. Jake slapped the phone out of her hand, his face red with fury. "You cheated on me too?" he roared. Olivia recoiled. "Jake! Who else?" He grabbed her wrist. "How many guys, Olivia?" I took another sip of my coffee. "Beautiful." Chaos reigns. Jake turned to me, breathing hard. "You did this." I smiled. "Did what?" He pointed a shaking finger at me. "You ruined my life." I shrugged. "No, Jake. You ruined your life. I just gave it a little push." He lunged again, but this time Olivia got in the way. "You're the idiot who stole from your dad," she screamed. "And now you're blaming Ethan? Maybe if you weren't such a useless." Jake turned on her, his face twisted in hate. And that was it. The end of their happy little fantasy. I had done it. I had turned them against each other. The final blow. As Jake and Olivia screamed at each other, I grabbed my jacket and walked to the door. "Where are you going?" Olivia snapped. I turned back with a smirk. "You two have a lot to figure out," I said casually. "I'll let you handle it." I stepped outside, breathing in the fresh air. I was done here. I had taken everything from them. And now I was free. I didn't go far. I sat in my car across the street, sipping on a gas station coffee, watching the house where my ex-wife and my golden child brother tore each other apart. Through the window, I could see Olivia screaming, pointing fingers, her face twisted in pure rage. Jake was pacing, hands in his hair, looking like he wanted to punch a hole through the wall. They were crumbling. And I had front row seats. The collapse. 15 minutes passed before the front door flew open. Jake stormed out, dragging a suitcase behind him. His face was red, his jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. Olivia followed, barefoot, her robe slipping off her shoulder. "You're seriously leaving?" Jake whirled around. "What the hell else am I supposed to do, Olivia?" "Fix this," she shrieked. He laughed bitterly. "Fix what?" "I lost everything. My job, my money, my reputation." He pointed at her. "And now I find out you've been spreading your legs for your boss? Screw you." She crossed her arms. "Oh, please, like you're any better." Jake stiffened. And there it was. The moment of realization. That no matter how much he had hated me, he and Olivia were never on the same team. They were just using each other. Jake shook his head, laughing under his breath. "You know what? You two deserve each other." "Wait, two?" I frowned. Then, to my pure amusement, Jake turned to look at me. Jake's last stand. He dropped his suitcase, pointing a trembling finger at me. "You're loving this, aren't you?" I rolled down my window, smirking. "A little." He took a step forward, fists clenched. "You think you won?" "I don't think," I said, stretching lazily. "I know." He let out a breath, nostrils flaring. "You're pathetic." I grinned. "And yet, I still have a house." His eye twitched. "Screw you." I leaned on the wheel. "Already been done, my man." I glanced at Olivia. Several times, apparently. Olivia's face twisted in pure fury. "You bastard." Jake grabbed his suitcase and stormed toward his car. Olivia didn't try to stop him. She just stood there, watching, her hands shaking. And just like that, Jake was out of the picture. One down. One to go. Olivia's desperation. I didn't leave immediately. I waited. And just like I expected, 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Olivia. Can we talk? I smirked, tossing the phone onto the passenger seat. Of course. She was desperate now. Jake was gone. Her job was gone. She had no backup plan. She needed me, and I was going to make her beg. The final conversation. I walked back into the house, taking my time. Olivia was sitting at the kitchen table, a cup of tea in her hands, looking exhausted. She glanced up as I entered. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I grabbed a beer from the fridge, popped it open, and took a sip. A little, she sighed, rubbing her temples. Look, Ethan, I messed up. I raised an eyebrow. Which part? The cheating? The lying? Kicking me out of my own house? She swallowed hard. All of it. For the first time, she looked small. And I almost felt bad. Then I remembered all the years she treated me like I wasn't good enough. The way she threw me away the second Jake offered her something better. And I smiled. You want me to forgive you? I asked. She hesitated. Then she nodded. I took another sip of my beer. Too bad. Her face fell. Ethan. I leaned down, resting my hands on the table. You don't get to come back from this, Olivia. You made your choice. I stood straight, grabbing my keys. Now you get to live with it. I walked to the door, then paused. You should start packing, I said over my shoulder. I'm selling the house. She shot up from her chair. What? I grinned. Oh, did I forget to mention? It's in my name. Her mouth fell open. You can't do that. I shrugged. Watch me. I stepped outside. The sun was rising, casting a golden glow over everything. I inhaled deeply. For the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't bother looking back as I walked out of the house. Olivia's voice followed me, screeching, desperate. But I didn't stop. She had lost, and she knew it. I got into my car, started the engine, and pulled away. As I turned the corner, I saw Jake's car parked down the street. He was sitting inside, gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. Pathetic. The mighty golden child, reduced to nothing. I rolled down my window as I passed him. Hey, Jake, I called. He turned, his eyes bloodshot, his face pale. I grinned. Good luck out there. Then I drove off. Game over. The aftermath. I spent the next few weeks cleaning up the mess. Selling the house? Done. I found a buyer within days, got a price that left me with a solid profit, and handed Olivia a 30-day eviction notice. She called me at least 50 times. I ignored every single one. Jake? He was too busy drowning in his own misery. Dad had cut him off completely, fired him, froze his accounts, and made sure no one in his industry would touch him. Last I heard, he was living in a rundown apartment on the other side of town, burning through the last of his savings. And Olivia? She had lost her job, her reputation, and soon her home. I'd made sure of that. One last meeting. A week before the house was officially sold, I went back one last time. Olivia was still there, sitting on the floor of the half-empty living room, surrounded by moving boxes. She looked up as I walked in. Ethan. I leaned against the doorway. Olivia. She sighed, running a hand through her hair. Are you really going to sell it? I smirked. Already did. She swallowed hard, staring at the floor. I don't have anywhere to go. I raised an eyebrow. Not my problem. She flinched. Can't we just? No, I cut her off. You made your choice, Olivia. You threw me away. You thought Jake would take care of you. How's that working out for you? Tears welled in her eyes. I messed up. I shrugged. That's life. She sniffled. I still love you. I laughed. Actually laughed. Yeah? That's funny? I said, turning to leave. Because I don't even feel a damn thing for you anymore. I walked out without another word. And this time I didn't look back. A month later, I stood in front of the house one last time. Empty. Silent. Sold. Olivia was long gone. I didn't bother finding out where she went. It didn't matter anymore. Jake? He was officially done. I'd heard through the grapevine that he tried crawling back to our father, begging for another chance. Dad didn't even let him in the door. His golden child was no longer golden. Poetic justice. And me? I was free. A new beginning. I moved into a new place. Modern, sleek, something I chose for myself. No ghosts of the past. No memories of betrayal. Just me, my future, and a fat bank account from the house sale. One evening, as I sat on my balcony with a drink in hand, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I already knew who it was. I answered. Hello. A pause. Then a voice I hadn't heard in weeks. Ethan, it's me. I smirked. Olivia, what do you want? She sniffled. I don't know what to do. Everything's falling apart. I have nothing. I swirled the drink in my glass. That's not my problem. I miss you. Her voice cracked. I miss us. I chuckled. There is no us, Olivia. Not anymore. Silence. Then a whisper. I'm sorry. I took a slow sip of my drink. Too late. Then I hung up. I blocked the number, tossed my phone onto the table, and leaned back. The air was crisp. The city lights stretched before me. And for the first time in a long, long time, I smiled. The lesson. Betrayal burns. Cuts deep. But survival? That's the sweetest revenge. So, if you ever find yourself standing in my shoes, wondering what to do when someone stabs you in the back, don't beg. Don't break. Don't waste time on revenge. Just win. Because nothing hurts a traitor more than watching you thrive without them. The end.